Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Christmas Eve special of the Robbos Gobcast NFL podcast. Hope you guys are well. Today we are doing two videos in the same day for everyone. We're doing the Red NFC podcast and the NFL show for you guys here today. And we're just going to go through, review what happened over the weekend. We had a double derby going on. We had Dan at the moment, can't see him, but he is here. We versus Rob, and then we had Fred versus myself in the most entertaining game that's ever happened in the NFL. I couldn't go through that without laughing. It was fucking boring. It was terrible. But one of the games that go through. So we're going to go through and talk about that and have a little discussion through it. We've got some topics we want to go through and go for as well. But as it's this time of year and as it's Christmas coming up, we know that some people in this chat and some people at home are in tier 4. We know that Christmas will not be the same and New Year will not be the same for everyone this year. But as I've said on all the other podcasts, but I make sure I do on all of them because there's certain people that listen to some and certain people won't listen to others. So all I'm saying is this Christmas, we know that you might not be able to see certain family members. You might not be able to go out. You won't be able to do things, but make sure you give someone a call. We don't know what they're going through. We don't know what Christmas is going to be like this year. It's completely different than I think any of us have ever experienced in our lifetime. But the one thing we can say and one thing we can do is be there for everyone. No matter what you're going through, no matter what's going on, there is always someone out there that will be able to help you. I know that I've gone through a few things this year. Everyone's gone through something this year. But our DMs on Instagram and Twitter are open. So if there's anything you guys want to talk about over the Christmas and New Year, please DM us. And I'm happy to talk to you guys. And I may not be able to solve it, but what I can do is maybe point you in the right direction to get what you need done. Saying hello to Mr. Cat. If you guys are watching, just saw a little cat just poking. Just so make sure that this Christmas you FaceTime people, you ring them. You may not be able to spend Christmas with them, but you might be able to talk to them on the phone. And we know that it's been a very tough year, and we want to make sure that there is people out there for everyone. Don't forget as well, we have a Christmas Day and a New Year's Day special, but that's all in the future. Let's talk about right now. Let's talk about the NFL. It was an exciting weekend.
Oh, hey!
There we go. We get to Jesus.
Wow.
He's full.
Someone's colourful, aren't they?
Oh, I just found this lying around. Sorry.
Look at him.
Christmas,
Trimmed up
you wear the
in
red?
Buccaneers gear.
Just lying around, man.
Do you know what the first thing that got to me in my head? Has anyone watched the In-Betweeners?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know when the bit they go bus wanker or full kit wanker? That's basically him.
It's a bit awkward with his hat on, though. Just get that off.
There we go. Oh, you've polished it today. It's nice and shiny. But yeah, we're all here. So let's get into some of the NFL action. So we're going to do things a little bit differently today because it was rivalry versus rivalry. We're going to get them two to talk about what they experienced. So this week we're going to start off with Dan versus Rob. Going into it, I saw by the messages. I didn't see the game because mine and Fred games were on at the same time. Rob was getting very excited in the first quarter. He was getting very happy. And then Tom Brady decided, I think, to turn up in the second half. But Rob, Dan, I'll leave it over to you guys and you two tell the world how you found the game and what you experienced. And Rob, we still love you, so don't get too upset. Carry on.
Go on, Dan. I don't want to talk about it.
I was going to say, if you want to play it out like the game, you can start off and then just disappear.
I don't like you anymore, Dan.
You start. I'm getting too hot in this jumper. So you crack on, mate. I'm going to take this jumper off.
I don't even know, I don't even want to get too much into it because I knew what was going to happen. I think I kept saying, what a bastard.
Lying around, I told you, it's just lying around.
Frank, audio medium, that is.
Sorry, Rob.
Oh, you've made me snort. Oh, this is the greatest start of a podcast I've done so far in the 6 months I've been doing this. This has been absolutely epic.
I thought long and hard about this and thought, it's going to come back and bite me on the arse in 2 weeks, can it? Big time.
You know, when you said...
I'm fucking hoping it does as well.
Just for anyone listening, Dan has got layer after layer of Bucs clothes on and hats. And memorabilia, everything's Bucs. Rob's having a great time.
That is what I will be doing in 2 weeks' time. It'll be like woolly hat onto the snapback.
Yeah. No, you won't. You lose again. Where did we get to? We were talking about the game, right?
Yeah.
We didn't even start.
Anyway. The first half then.
I'm going to take over hosting duties, and it was nice to talk about the Falcons Buccaneers. So now we're going to talk about the Dolphins and Patriots. So over to you guys.
Cover that one off, really, do we?
And then we'll move on.
Come on. You had some positives in there, right? You had some positives.
The end.
Yeah, but you...
it's so
It went
frustrating.
wrong.
I posted on Twitter to someone else during the game after we'd thrown the lead away, and it didn't even surprise me the fact that it happened, because I've seen it this season, we've seen it last season, we've seen it the season before, we saw it in Super Bowl, and but this season it's just been on another level completely. And I expected us to be in not necessarily winning position, but in a close game, and then do something which was just going to blow it massively into the Bucs' favour. I didn't expect that we'd have another, massive lead that would then, just capitulate and throw it away, sort of thing. But the fact that it happened was almost I expected it. I think what really annoys me is the manner in how we do it. Like the big leads that we build up, how, we were better on offense, and, Ridley and our other wide receivers were getting free, not at will, but, pretty regular.
Right? Yeah.
And, our defense was doing a good job. He didn't score any points in the first half, and then the second half was just I think it was a bit of a mix of both. The Bucs stepped it up and we stepped backwards. And I think if we'd, you expect the Bucs to come out and step up in the second half, but if we'd not taken a step backwards, then we might have been able to keep it closer to the point of actually holding on for a win rather than letting you score 34 points in the second half or whatever. So it's just a manner in. I expected us to lose. I expected us to do something to be in a good, close position and then just throw it away and let the Bucs run away with it. And it's the manner of how we do it that,
Well, that's it. I think you just said last week, if you was going to lose that game by that small margin just on the scoreboard, you'd have probably took that, right? You expected to lose that game going into it.
I expected to lose that game, yeah. And
so if you'd have come out and said it's going to be a 4-point game, it's going to be close, you'd have gone, yeah. But the fact it was so far ahead.
It's the manner of how the game plays out. It's we put ourselves in a brilliant position, and then we've lost it by a handful of points because we've, thrown it away ourselves, and we've done it many times. If it had been a shootout the whole game and the Bucs had come out on top by one score, then, that's the way it goes. But to run out to a healthy lead and then just basically throw the game away is just, something we've seen, against the Cowboys, the Bears, the Lions. And it's just frustrating, really.
I want to ask you, I just want to quickly going to jump in 1 second, and I want to ask Rob one question. I've while you talk, just had a look over, and Matt Ryan, he seems to be someone that's on talking books with most people at the moment. A game against the Bucs, he threw for 356 yards, according to ESPN. He threw for 356 yards, a completion of 69%, an average of 7.3 yards, and he got 3 touchdowns. If I'm correct, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but is this last year in his contract, if I'm right, or am I wrong on this? Because there was talk that he might be going off to somewhere else at the end of this season. Would you be happy for him to leave, or what's the future with the Falcons on that side?
No, he's got multiple years on his contract.
Okay.
And he's like I've covered in the past with like Wentz last week. He's probably in a situation where if we traded him or cut him, it's going to do us more harm in dead cap space than anything else. But I think the majority of Falcons fans appreciate what Matt Ryan has done for the franchise, and still have belief in him. He had a bad game last week, and he said that he put his hands up and said he had a bad game. And, there's people on Twitter like saying he's the root cause of all the Falcons' problems and we need to get rid of him and get a new quarterback. And it's just absolute rubbish. Like, the way that, if anything, I feel sorry for Ryan because we've like thrown away his prime, not thrown them away, we had a chance to win a Super Bowl and we blew it there again. Yeah. But Matt Ryan is not the problem, and I am a big Matt Ryan fan, and I'm going to stand by him. He's getting older, so there is potential that he's going to slow down at some point. But I'm happy for him to see his contract out with us, and I don't see him as being the primary issue that we've got.
No, it was just one of those talking points that I saw, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. I've just had a look at it while you talked, and he has a contract with Atlanta till 2023, $150 million contract, guaranteed annual salary of $30 million a year. Dan, I'll go over to you so you can carry on with the second half because it would look good for the first half for Rob. Probably was Falcons playing well in that first half? Or were you guys playing utter rubbish in the defense? Or what did you think was the start of the game?
We've started many games this year poorly. So normally a team will script their first drive or two, their first 15 plays or so. They'll know exactly what they're coming out to, barring any problems. And other than I think 2 games this year, we haven't scored on our first drive. So our initial game plan at the outset is not right. It's not working. In contrast to that, Atlanta got their game plan spot on. They come out, they knew how we'd attack them. They found the gaps, they found the weaknesses. And yeah, they hurt us. They put a lot of points on the board. We had 4 drives and 4 punts in the first half of a game of football. With the talent that we had on that field is horrendous. I think we only had something like 60 yards of offense in the first half. It's crazy the money that goes into that per yard you wouldn't even want to think about it. Second half, though, we obviously made the adjustments. The defense had no choice. They had to make stops or that game was done. I think if you speak to a lot of Tampa fans this year, we've been playing, for some reason, a lot of soft zone coverage, and it's hurt us. A couple of games, Carolina, Green Bay, and this one, the second half, we've come out, we've played man coverage, we've pressed higher, and we've had some unusual blitzes coming from different places at opposing quarterbacks. And it's worked, and every fan has been asking for it regularly, and we haven't been doing it as if we almost want to keep it in our locker. And it makes no sense why you do that other times during the year. But we adjusted. I don't think Atlanta did adjust. I think that's, we got the coaching wrong all week for start of the game. We realised the problem and adjusted it, and I don't think Atlanta did. They were on the right game plan to start with and decided to stick with it. And they didn't change their tact in that second half to what we did. We went them from 4 drives and 4 punts with no scores to 5 consecutive scoring drives. So I don't know. There's a lot of talent in it. We adjusted. I think Falcons didn't adjust. I think the Falcons, having been in that position before and seen that scoreboard and the opponent's number creeping up and their number not creeping up, you just get a little bit tenser and you just tighten up a little bit and you rush a decision and it becomes the wrong decision. And I think that's exactly what happened. And they just needed to come away from that, stop themselves, take a deep breath and start again type thing. And they didn't. They just kept doing what they were doing and it wasn't working. So yeah, we put up a great second half. There's no two ways about it. Brady threw for 320 in the second half alone. You just said that Matt Ryan had 356 all game. Brady threw for 320 in the second half alone. You know, but we had to. We had no other choice. So
he threw for 390 overall, with two touchdowns. You had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. And maybe is his first touchdown in a Tampa Bay Antonio Brown as well? Is that his first touchdown in? How did it come to a point where did Brady turn it on? Did the offense decide to turn it on in that second half? Is that what got you over the line, or as you said, was it that the Falcons just didn't respond to the way that you guys decided to change the game plan and just stuck with what they were doing?
The defense obviously had to stop Atlanta, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
That gave us a fighting chance. The talent we had on the pitch is too much not to get something right. And yeah, whether they just had whether it be Brady or whether it be, I mean, he used 9 different receivers during the game. So you can't say it was Brady necessarily that turned it on. Every single person out there, he spread the ball around between Godwin, Evans, Antonio, Brait. You know, they all got involved and they all did their part. And you can't come back from that kind of deficit in that time frame without everybody doing their part. So, yeah, hey, I'll take the win. Thank you very much. And I'll see you again in a fortnight.
Rob, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to ask you one question before we get on to me laughing at Fred for the next 5 minutes. Is there any positives for you going towards the end of the season? There's nothing for you guys to play for at the moment, apart from pride. Is there any positives you can take from the certain games you've had over the next few weeks that can maybe, when you go to Tampa next, maybe get something out of it, or the rest of the games of the season? Is there anything that could get maybe optimistic for the next season?
You've got a top 5 pick. That's probably the best positive out of it.
Yeah, I think for this season, no, there's not. There's nothing to be optimistic about. We're out of the playoffs. We're going to have a losing season. We're going to be haunted by the fact that we could have had a winning season if we'd not have, literally thrown, there's no way the Cowboys should have beaten us. There's no way that the Bears should have beaten us. We should have beaten the Lions. There's other games that we've lost where, 7 games that we've lost this season. In fact, it might be 8 now after, I think it was 7 before we played the Buccaneers. We were in winning positions and then we've gone and, lost from there, which is practically all but one of our games. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. You look at like our running game, Todd Gurley and Brian Hill both ended up in negative yardage at the end of the game. I think at the first half, our leading rusher was Matt Ryan, and he is not a mobile quarterback whatsoever, which, just paints a picture.
And it was one run and all, wasn't it? It was one scramble. It was one scramble as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, 16-yard run in the first half, and he was our leading rusher. I know we touched upon this last week and said it'd be a game that would be won in the air because of, 2 teams that aren't great at running the ball and 2 defenses that are good at stopping it. But that's pathetic. And, Smith now has been named our lead running back for the rest of the season. So, the last couple of seasons, I think he's got potential. I don't think we've seen as much of him this year as I thought we might have done. Brian Hill seems to have jumped him on the depth chart this season. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do the next couple of games.
Is that to see what he can do, and then if not, go and get a Travis Etienne or a Najee Harris or someone like that in with your top 5 pick?
He he was second on the depth chart behind Freeman, so he has had plenty of snaps in the last couple of seasons on the basis that like Freeman's had injuries of his own. But Brian Hill seems to have jumped him on the depth chart this season. I think the problem with them is at the moment, are they lead back potential? Probably not. But you never know, do you? No one thought Mike Davis would be a workhorse lead running back, and he took his opportunity when McCaffrey's gone down, and he's taken it. So you never know, but we'll see what happens. Is there any positives? No. We need to make the right GM and head coach.
We're going to discuss that a little bit later on, because I've gone through certain markets and certain places, and I've done my research on who the names of the list that are people that are talking about could be next on the Lions, the Texans, and the Falcons. So we'll have a little bit of a discussion with that a little bit later on with everyone. But let's get into the Miami versus New England game. This was a game that New England had to win to have any chance of making the playoffs. And if they didn't, it would be the first time in 11 years that they have never made or even won the AFC West. So it was going into this game, Cam, I think, had to carry the team on the back. Fred, I'm going to go to you first before I talk about the Miami side. It wasn't the greatest game ever. We both thought in the first half this was going to be the most boring game that ever known to man. It was 6-0 in the first half, all coming from field goals from New England. And it all just turned around then, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the playoffs going into the game. We, according to various sources, had a whopping 2% chance of making them. So I think we were pretty much in bed anyway of not making the playoffs. I'm sat here exactly like I was on Sunday, thinking how dispiriting it is to be our defence. You shut out an understrength, but a good Miami offence for 2 quarters, and all your offence can put up is 2 Nick Folk field goals. Mark, I know you agree with me a little bit on this. So I actually have a bit of sympathy for Cam Newton this week because our receivers dropping pretty simple but crucial second and longs and third and longs. And that was just, for once, actually, Cam finding the receivers and then not doing the business. Jacoby Myers was all right. I'll come on to that in a moment. Cam was 17 from 27, 209 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. He ran the ball 9 times, 38 yards. I was going to lay off Cam tonight, to be fair. However, he went and put out one of the strangest Instagram posts I've ever seen in my life this week. It was a load of rubbish. The worst bit for me, that there's a load of weird question marks above letters and all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't even know how to do that. You got purple heads, devil emoji, but he said the answers to these problems in this locker room and something like, I want to be at the heart of it. And I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm like probably edging more towards crying, to be honest, because like if anyone suggests this is our offense next year, then I'm giving up. It's so blunt. Even when Cam looks okay, which at times he did this week, to be fair, our receivers don't catch the ball. Jacoby Myers, as I said, he was all right. He's had 3 or 4 games where he's been pretty good. And Harris can run the ball, but obviously he was out on Sunday. But that's it for me on offense this season. I wouldn't mind seeing the rest gone. It's not going to happen. But, N'Keal Harry has so much hopes for him. And he's not been sort of anywhere near where we want him to be. We've got this ridiculous stat. Patriots, I think between all the receivers they've taken on since 2012, they've only received 2,200 odd yards between a lot of them, which is shocking. It is the worst out of any team that's taken on receivers in the league since 2012, which is remarkable. The run game was okay from Sonny Michel, but again, there's little going on. I can't go into any more depth on that because it's a shallow pool. 2 and 9 on 3rd down, 2 and 1 on 4th down, and a can sack. I just joked with myself when we were sort of 15-9 down. I thought we're better off actually with onside kicks here, trying to get 2 field goals to try and tie this. We still have about 10 minutes to go. We'd have probably been a better game plan than the one we had, to be honest with you. Obviously, defensively, you can't give up 15 points in a quarter, but you can just tell from the point Miami were 15-9 up, there's no way back into the game for the Pats. I think most fans are probably sick of having to watch this offense week in, week out. Just to highlight the differences between how much better we are defensively. We're 7th on defense in the whole league, which isn't bad at all. Offensively, we're ranked 25th. We're 32nd on passing touchdowns, 30th on pass completion, and 27th on interceptions. These are absolutely shocking statistics, particularly for a Patriots offense. I know you've got a much different quarterback at the helm now, but it's just shocking. Miami-wise, I was quite impressed. I think Brian Flores done a good job, hasn't he? They had to change the usual game plans and missing Kaziki and people like that. But Ahmed really ran the ball really well. I think Ahmed, right, saying, was undrafted as well prior to this year. So, so there is talent out there, which just for whatever reason we're failing to pick up and other teams are. But you ran our defence into submission eventually. I don't think two of us particularly great in all honesty, but we've seen him have some good games. And Bill does do well with looking quarterbacks, but Miami still found a way to win and win comfortably. So yeah, I think fair play to Miami, absolutely deserve the win. But when you're putting up so little offensively, you only need 20, 24 points on the board, and you're probably going to beat us.
And that was one of the things I think I said to you on the game when we were watching it was, if you guys could catch, we would have lost easily. There was certain opportunities where I think it was like third down or second down, and we blitzed Newton, and there was the whole of the midfield, I would say, that was blatantly open, and there was always a New England person there, and if they caught it, they would have been welling.
Yeah, I mean, I think Newton's pass protection of Newton was a lot better this week, and he actually had time to throw and time to find receivers. With, which might say a little bit more about you than it does us, but he had time to find receivers, and when he did find them, they were just flapping. It was ridiculous. It was sort of like child's play almost. It was really frustrating because we haven't been in that position when Newton's had protection and had the ability to throw to receivers very often this last 6 to 8 weeks. And when he did, between them, they're not getting the job done.
Yeah, so for us, the worrying thing going into the game was we had no Devontae Parker, no Jakeem Grant, no Chandler Cox, no Eric Flowers, and no Mike Kazicki going into the game. So we had 6 or 7 starters that weren't going into the game. And that was my worry, was because we had no wide receivers that would doing... Tua's game at the moment is get the ball, no huddle, throw to a receiver, and move down the field as quickly as he possibly can. All on his brain, all doing it, majority of what he was thinking on the fly. So going into this, you're going up against Bill Belichick, who has, I think I saw somewhere, a 4-27 record against rookie quarterbacks. Only 4 or 5 rookie quarterbacks have ever beaten him in their first year going up against him. So my worry is Brian Flores was with New England, wasn't he, for 5-6 years? I think it was, maybe a bit longer, at New England. And my worry is he's going to go in and go, no, we know what we do well. Let's stick to it. And I think the first half, that's what we did. We did what Tua does well, and that was throw it. And then what happens as we get to the red zone? We throw the ball, interception, and it's all back to square one again.
That's where you're a better side than us, Mark, because we did what we do well, but we don't have a plan B. So we're very solid. We can be very solid if we start a game well, which we did, but we don't have anywhere to go with the offense. That's the issue.
And that was one of the worries I had. When he threw that interception, I went, oh no, this is they need to do a plan B we need to have a rushing team. We need to find a way because when we rushed, and we all know Dan loves a good rush. When we were rushing, I don't know whether he gets mixed up with thrush, but we'll see about that. But we were going into it and thinking, right, this second half needs to be different. We know Brian Flores knows England with the back of his hand. He's done so well with them, he needs to do it. And to be fair, I didn't expect half of these stats to come out the way that they did, but let's go through them when I can find it, because I've accidentally might have lost the piece of thing that I was looking at before we go. Here we go. So Tua threw 20 out of 26, 145 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns, and he rushed for three attempts. He rushed for only 9 yards, but he got 2 touchdowns in that game, which I thought was a great. And the whole of the team is we rushed for 42 carries, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. The longest rush that we did was for 31 yards. And our receivers, which just goes to show how much we changed the game plan for it, was we only threw for 20 times for 145 yards. And we never got any touchdowns or anything. We all just went for it. It's the same with Cam Newton as well. My thing I found with Cam, and I gained more of a hatred for him throughout the game because he had this cocky, pricky smile when he was doing something really well.
I don't know what he's smiling about.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing, but if he did something well in his head, he did this cocky smile, and then he got sacked in the end 4 times, and you fumbled it once as well going into that. But I want to give a special mention to one player, Salvon Hamid, who was an undrafted, was at Washington College football team in the off-season and come in, and what a game he had. He did 23 times he ran with the ball for 122 yards, average of 5.3 yards, 1 touchdown, and he carried him and Tua really helped us to give a different dimension to us, and that's what I think we've all been looking for as fans. Is we've been looking, especially for the past few weeks, is we know we can throw the ball. We know Tua is great at hitting a tight end when he has to. He loves Mike Gesicki. That's the only one I think he solely trusts when he throws the ball at someone. And this week he had to find a way of, right, everything's against us. We have to find a way of doing it. Not only that, Miami now have the longest streak of forced turnovers in the NFL with 20 games in a row. So not only is our attack was completely limited this week, but our defense is just absolutely amazing. It's been so good, I think, for us. And this goes to show that there is going to be, especially under Brian Flores, that this Miami team has got a massive future. And if he gets the right extra wide receivers for Tua in the summer, and he gets a couple of running backs, I think I think Kansas City are going to be shitting themselves, to be honest, not going to lie. In a couple, we're going to demolish Patrick Mahomes, and we'll go on to him in a sec. But I really do think that under this head coach and moving forward, I really do feel that this is something special. And Fred, I want to ask you, you guys are used to, for 11 or 12 straight years of winning the AFC.
Yeah, I think we got bored.
Winning it, basically. How are you feeling now? Can you see a game plan going for the future? Is there something that you can see what the plan is going to be now that Brady and Gronkowski have left? Is there something that you can see, or is this going to be a transition years before you get back to where you need to get to?
You're not, weirdly, probably not a million miles away, in terms of if you get a good quarterback and you get a couple of, another receiver to complement Myers, you can probably get away with the ground game we've got. But because defensively, we're right. There's only half the field that need fixing. But it is a transition year. Obviously, I think next year is going to be a transition year. I don't know how far you can take the spine of this team, if I'm honest, because you got people, particularly defensively, getting towards the wrong end of their careers. But, next year, if you get a decent quarterback, and I think you'll be competitive within that division, I think it's going to be a good division. I think the Bills are good. I think Miami, obviously, are quite good. I think the Jets will still be rubbish. But you're going to have 3 pretty good teams there. So, yeah, it's going to be a transition couple of years, but I think we'll be much better next year if we do the right work in the summer.
Talking of quarterbacks, let's go on to Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, shall we? I think we had the discussion when we were looking over Red Zone and the Kansas City the New Orleans Saints game, that they haven't. I don't think they've actually hit top gear, or they're not hitting the form that they've been having over the past few years with it. But I want to throw some stats at all of you, and I want to see what you guys think. When I say I do my ESPN stats, here we go. So, Patrick Mahomes this season has thrown for 514 attempts. He's completed 366, and he has a completion rate of 67.3%. And he has thrown for 4,462 yards, which is the most in the NFL at the moment. He is also second in the rushing list. He has rushed for 287 yards compared to Clyde Edwards, who has rushed for 803 yards, and he's got 4 touchdowns. Receiving, We all know who Travis Kelce is, the one that he's aiming for. He's been targeted 132 times, for 1,318 times, with Tarek Hill just a bit behind with 1,211 times. Have they not hit top form yet? Because that is their top form, or are they saving it for the playoffs and then going absolute? Or are they a team like we saw last year that love to go from behind and then just completely annihilate teams? What is your guys' take of Kansas City? Because they just seem to be pulling out wins no matter the situation they're in.
What you just said actually probably sums it up, to be honest. Like, I questioned them a little bit earlier on with this podcast a few weeks ago, and I said, look, they're getting far out in front and then games appear to end close. But two things for me: when they beat Miami last week, being a fair bit behind and played very well to do that. And secondly, the Saints game I think was really important as well. Now, the Saints obviously lost to the Eagles last week, which they would never have expected to do, particularly against a rookie quarterback. So that would have put a rocket right up their backside, and you'd have had a fired-up Saints side going to play Kansas this week. And for Kansas to come out on top in that environment, in that scenario, I think is a really good sign as well. I think they've had two tough tests of their mettle in the last couple of weeks and done very well. So yeah, I'm sold on Kansas. We all know about Mahomes, Edwards-Helaire, Sammy Watkins, Le'Veon Bell. These guys are the real deal. What I think probably more asking, are they going to be the next dynasty of the NFL, really, than anything else? Yeah.
I think I said when we were talking in the weekend that they haven't hit, for me, top gear all year. They've been in third or fourth. The last 6 wins have all been by 6 points or fewer. They know how to, or what they need to do to win a game, whether that be from behind and they can pick up the pace, or whether that be from ahead and they can clock manage and run down. Edwards-Hilaire's injury on his legs meant to be quite serious. Whether Lev Bell has still got it in him to be a bell cow back remains to be seen, and how that affects him. I don't think it will. I think they'll just go, well, blow the run game. We'll just keep throwing it because they're good enough to do that. Whether or not I think they're in third or fourth gear because they are in third or fourth gear, or whether they've seemed that way all year because this is all they've got, I don't know. But for me, I think come playoff football, I do think they can just step it up a little bit. And I think that should scare the whole league. They're winning games now. I think the best they've looked all season actually was the very first game of the year. Hello, Cat.
Hello, Cat. That's what he thinks of you.
the very first game of the year, when they had the Texans, and it was the AFC game, I think, from last year, and it was an opening game of that lot, and they blew them away 34-20. And okay, the Texans went on to be slightly worse than I think we all imagined they would be. But that, for me, I think was the best Kansas came in. They came with last year's playoff form into that game. Now I think they've just got through, done what they need to do. They're going to end up with the 1 seed again because Pittsburgh aren't very good. Surprise, surprise. And yeah, nobody is going to want to go to Arrowhead and play them in the playoffs. Simple as that. Nobody will.
Rob, I want to ask you a question.
I think they're beatable.
Yeah, Rob, I want to ask you a question. Drew Brees, at the start of the game was 0-5, and actually he was 0-6 with an interception, which was the worst that he's ever done in his 20-year career in the NFL. And then he got dropped. And then he also then come back in and did a 51-yard deep ball throw to get a 24-yard interception as well. A touchdown, in that game. Were the Saints still trying to recover from the loss that they did against the Eagles, or were the Chiefs just too good?
Who are you asking me?
Rob.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Well, I don't. Personally, I think, Drew Brees is at a point where is he on the decline? Like, not even a little bit. Is he done? And, I don't know whether it's confirmed that this is his last season, but I know it was said last season that it might be his last year, and this year might be his last year. And, I think, him coming back in there and, he's not got Michael Thomas to throw a short slant to, and his noodle arms can't throw the ball much further than that. So, I didn't watch the game. I don't know what their, I saw a little bits of it on Red Zone. I don't know what their game plan was. But I think irrespective of the fact that he's been out for the last 6 or 7 weeks with an injury, the older you get, the harder it is to come back from. And, with the questions about whether this will be his last year and whether he is on the decline, and then having like half the season out through injury, is it difficult to come back from?
Mm-hmm.
I think he saw this as his career. I think they were doing okay with Taysom Hill. He broke 11 ribs and he's back inside 6-7 weeks. And he's got 2-3 games before the playoffs. They just lost the last game. I thought he saw this as, now that we've lost with Taysom, I can come back in and start. If I say I'm fit, I can perform and we can go to the playoffs with me. If he didn't take this opportunity and Taysom had corrected the ship and he'd won this week and next week, they'd have gone into the playoffs with Taysom Hill under center, not him. And that would have been Drew Brees finished. So I think whether he was 100%, I doubt, but I think he had to get back on that field that day for his own career.
Perfect. Let's move on to careers and teams. We've got 3 teams at the moment who are without head coaches. We've got the Lions, Texans, and the Falcons. I want to go to the Lions first. So I've gone from multiple sites, multiple different places, and I have found a list for each team that has the top 5 who they think, according to betting and according to people, who will be in contention for the head coach role next season. There is a theme with one person out of the list, and I want to see what you guys will take. There is one person that is on every single list. And
Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
He's literally the top ones for 2 of them and second for 1 of them. So let's go with the Lions first. So Robert, I do apologize if anyone's watching. I will butcher names because I'm gonna blame it on my dyslexia, and I'm also gonna blame it on I'm a fucking idiot. So I'm just gonna say if I get it wrong, these 3 will correct me at the end, and it will be fine. Robert Saleh. He's a defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. He is favorite for the Lions job. Then you got Eric. I'm not even going to try and say his last name. He's the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. You got Lincoln Riley, who is the head coach of the University of Oklahoma. We've got Jim Harbaugh, who is the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. What a name that is. Anyway. And then you've got Darrell Bevell, who is the current interim head coach at the Detroit Lions, who is also favorite as well. With all of you 3's experience knowledge of the NFL, let's see which one of you 3 would laugh first. None of you. Okay, that's fair enough. If you were the Lions and you had to choose, if you were the Lions, who do you think they're going to pick? And 2, who would you pick? And 2, who do you think they're going to pick?
The Lions, there's a chance for Josh McDaniels. Jim Harbaugh's been around the NFL. He's been a head coach. He's proven. There is a lot of talk about Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy can sit and wait for the right job that he wants and take whatever job he wants when it arises. That man's not in a rush to get out. Josh McDaniels, as I say, from the Patriots, they've obviously had a Patriots coach step up as head coach and Matt Patricia, and that's where they are now. Whether they go that path again, I don't know. Whether Josh McDaniels feels up to it, because he had a chance to go to the Colts, didn't he? And he went there for about 2 weeks, I think, and left in a pre-season.
In terms of his stock as well, this is probably just past his peak stock, I think, in terms of what he's worth, because they've not had a great year offensively. There's every chance they're not going to have a great couple of years offensively as well. If he's looking for a head coaching job, I think this is the time he's got to go, for me personally.
The one guy that's talked about coming back as well is Bill Cowher, who was the old Steelers head coach. through the 90s and into the early 2000s and won Super Bowls with them. He had a lot of family issues that meant he left. But apparently he's looking at a way back in again. He's got a proven track record. He's been there, whether it's relevant or not. The game changes, I don't know. But he would be an option for anybody of them. So it's tough to know. There's so many options with NFL coaches.
So if you could choose the head coach for the Lions, and I'm going to do one question for you, or two questions actually. If you could pick one person for yourself who you would pick if you were the Lions to go and be your head coach, and the other question is who do you think they're going to pick? Fred, I'm going to go to you first.
Well, for the first two, in terms of my first choice for both Detroit and the Texans, if they could choose...
Don't say Texans yet. I haven't gone through their list. Hold on.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, for Detroit, okay. I think probably... the enemy would probably be first pick for me. I've got a couple, pretty much the same names as you, plus Arthur Smith, and I think the enemy would be who they want. I would have to guess. In terms of who they'll end up with, I'm not really sure. So I don't think he'd want that job. I would guess as well on that front. It's very difficult. They may end up. They've got a poor record. They may end up taking someone out the college game, maybe Lincoln Riley, maybe Matt Campbell. If in terms of the mutual fit there for me.
Rob.
I'm sure that Eric Bieniemy is going to be on every team that's looking for a head coach's shortlist this season.
Even those with head coaches, he's on their shortlist as well.
Yeah. I'm sure that everybody that's looking for a head coach is going to be reaching out to him for an interview. I think, like Dan says, he is probably the most sought after coach that people are going to be looking to put into a head coaching role, and he's probably got, in the position that he's in right now, he has got the luxury to sit there, and if he doesn't think the right opportunity comes along this year, that he can sit and wait. Like Fred said, if Chiefs are going to evolve into the next dynasty, then it's not going to hurt Bieniemy's credentials one bit, and he could probably sit there for the next 3 or 4 seasons and be the top person on everyone's list until he does decide to move across. I think it's difficult. There's so many people out there. Look at every offensive and defensive coordinator that's up and coming, and then you've got people in college roles in head coaching positions and things like that. And it's just, there's so many options out there for every team. And I've got a hard enough time thinking about the Falcons, and I'm keeping on top of our general manager search and our head coach and things like that. There's just so many options out there. It's difficult to try and narrow down where a team's going to go. I'm sure there's going to be some curveballs.
So at this moment with the Lions, Robert Saleh is miles ahead, odds-on favourite to be going there, the defensive coordinator, according to certain sites. He is quite far ahead compared to the others. Let's move to the mighty south of the Texans. As I said, Eric is the top choice for the Texans, according to certain sites, as being number one. And then we've got Dabo Sweeney, a head coach of Clemson University, if I'm correct, if that's how you say it.
Clemson Tigers, yeah.
Perfect. Josh McDaniels is favourite. Greg Rowan, who is the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. Lincoln Riley, who's the head coach at the University of Oklahoma, who are favourites there as well. Texans, where do you think they're going to go with this? Same question as I said with the Lions. Who would you pick for the Texans, and where do you think they're going to go? Dan, I'm going to go to you first.
I think they go Dabo Sweeney from Clemson was Deshaun Watson's head coach.
I did hear that's why they want to bring him in and to keep him happy.
Yeah, we spoke, I don't know if it's last week or the week before, about what does Deshaun Watson do? Does he stay? Does he go? He's under contract, but what a way to actually get him to buy into the franchise and start again. bring a guy in that he's worked with and had success with. David Swan is, I think, new to the NFL, unless he's had a coaching or a coordinator role somewhere I'm not familiar with. But they've also got a GM vacancy there, so they can fill the GM vacancy with an experienced NFL head and give him the backup and support he needs that way. I may be completely wrong. The thing with NFL head coach jobs is there's only 32 of them in the world, and there's a lot of people that want 32 jobs. I don't know, but if I was to go out and put money on it, I think I'd go Dabo Swinney. I think for me, that makes most sense to start building that franchise again behind a quarterback, behind somebody he knows, put experience in the offices upstairs ahead of him, and go that way with it.
I'm going to ask the same question to Fred.
Yeah, so I think that makes quite a good case actually there. But I also think if you didn't have the draft problems the Texans are going to have, then Bieniemy would be a really exciting fit with Deshaun Watson. It's not quite the case Dan's going to put forward, or Dan's put forward, I think, in terms of the strength of it. But you're working with a top 5 quarterback who can do most things, which Bieniemy's doing already. Really, just a slightly better version in Mahomes. So I think that'd be a really exciting mix for me, anyway.
So I've just looked while you were talking, Dan, as well. Dabo Swinney, has never coached in the NFL before,
which is huge.
Yeah, he was with Alabama as a player. Coaching career, he was with Alabama from 1993 to 2000, and then he's been at Clemson since 2003 to today, where he's done various roles. General, like wide receiver type, blah, 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 doing different positions and stuff, but he's been there the whole time talking.
So he's earned his shot, right?
Yeah, he's been the head coach or been coaching since 1993. Rob, same question for you.
Well, I think I had seen the same thing that, Swinney was going to be in there. I mean, if he's never been in the NFL before, he's not young either, is he? I don't know how old 51. He is. 51. I mean, he's not young, so it's not like he's young, inexperienced, and never coached in the NFL. I mean, there's, you look at Jim Harbaugh at the Michigan Wolverines, and he has been in the NFL, but there's talk of him that he's happy in college football as well. When head coach jobs of I don't know whether that's cast iron or what, but he's been to the NFL, he's gone back to college, and he's got a head coach job there, and he's happy with the college football. So without knowing what people's circumstances are, but I'm sure if they came knocking on the door and putting something together for him to go to the Texans and with Jackson there, then who knows.
Perfect. Right, this is going to be a very close one to Rob's heart. It is the Falcons. I'm going to go through a list of names, and I'm not even going to go to Rob first because that's how much of an arsehole I am. I'm probably going to go to Fred. So these are the names that are favourites for the Falcons job, which is Eric. He's top of the list for all of them, as I said, for the Brian Dabble, who is the offensive coordinator at Buffalo Bills. Greg Roman, who is the offensive coordinator for the Greg Rowan, fucking apparently got 2 offensive coordinators for New England, according to my thing. Josh McDaniels, who's the offensive coordinator at New England, and Brian Leftwich, who is the offensive coordinator at Tampa Bay Bucs. Fred,
Rob's run away.
Go to you first.
Yeah,
Where
I think
do you think the Falcons are going to go?
I speak for Rob here. The man's in the organisation already. He's doing great work with the offence. Give Dirk the top. Look, I see Robert.
Fred.
All good. Yeah, done. No, I feel like Robert Salah's obviously linked. Also, another name linked to a lot of top jobs. He mentioned Brian DeBell. I think he's done a lot of really good work with Josh Allen this year, isn't he? Is he going to want to join a Falcons side with a quarterback that he realistically isn't going to improve much? I don't know if that's going to interest him. they're very organised. The Bills, it's been a work in progress. I don't really know the agent's setup of the Falcons defense either, but again, that's something he's done. He's not done a lot of work with Bills on that, but he seems to like to develop people, doesn't he? So probably Salah for me.
Okay, so I'm going to stop being an arsehole now, and Rob, I'm going to go to you. Greg Rowan, who is the offensive coordinator for Baltimore Ravens, that's another name that's on the list.
I've had a power cut. Maybe 2 seconds. Sorry.
No worries. That's brilliant entertainment on it. Where do you see this going? Do you see them getting one of those names on that list? Who do you want out of all of that list, apart from Eric? Because I think everyone wants Eric. Do you want to steal the Tampa Bay from making them any better with their offensive coordinator and bringing them in? What do you think?
I don't think that Eric Bieniemy is a fit for the Falcons, and I don't think it's anything to do with football. I think that Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, sort of doesn't like any drama, and he likes a squeaky clean ship. Now, obviously, Bieniemy, there's been some stuff in the press about various legal issues that he's had, and it's not for me or anybody else to speculate what's happened there, but the nature of those issues, I don't think, I might be wrong, I just don't think that they fit with the sort of ethos that Arthur Blank has. So I think it's a shame, because I would love Bieniemy to come in there. But I suppose there's also that question, people saying, how much input does he have behind Reed and stuff. So I don't think Bieniemy will be high on our shortlist for the non-football issues that I've mentioned. Dabble at the Bills, I think he'd be a good shout. I'd like somebody, relatively young and up and coming who can, with some new, fresh ideas. Some people like Joe Brady at the Panthers, what he's done with their offense this season. And he'd be someone that, he's only the same age as me. And I suppose it's like, has he got the experience yet? Would that be a risk at 31 to give him the keys to the head coaching job? But I think the Falcons are probably in a stage now where we've got a team that could be competitive, but they're all in the twilights of their career. And from that stage, there's two ways you can look at it. Have we got a chance to compete for Super Bowl before the time on all these star players that we've got careers ticks away? Or do we take a risk on someone like Joe Brady and give him the experience, and if it doesn't work, then he's learned from the experience, and give him the opportunity to rebuild, as long as he doesn't do, we don't go 0-16 or whatever. So I don't know. It's things in the NFL change so quickly. Someone who's favourite today might not be tomorrow. Someone that is being way behind might be favourite tomorrow, and the teams can start reaching out for interviews with people that are currently employed in the NFL from after this week's games. I think the teams that they're currently employed for can reject those advances, but we'll start to. I'm sure after next week we'll start to get more of a picture of which teams are seriously looking at which candidates.
Dan, I'm going to go to you. I want to ask you one question. I was very surprised, and I don't know whether that's just me with my lack of knowledge of the NFL, but I was very surprised that none of the list had Bill O'Brien as someone that could take over has he done so much damage to his reputation of what he's done at the Texans the past year that he won't get it? Because I've just seen an article as well while we were talking and going on that he could be, if Arthur Smith takes the head job at Tennessee Titans, he could be going there as the offensive coordinator. Instead of getting a head coach role, could be going to Tennessee to do the offensive coordinator. Has he done that much damage? What do you think about the Falcons situation as well? I know there's about 30 million questions I just asked you in one bloody sentence, but I just want to get your take.
I think, like Rob said, teams are starting to look younger and starting to change these young, fresh ideas that have ideas about the way football's played. The Rams did it with Sean McVay. Sean McVay's 34 years old. He took the job 4 years ago. He's made a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. I really like him.
He just sees the game differently. We've spoke before about Dirk Cotter and how the guy's playing football from the early 90s, right? And it's the way it is. And he's tried to modernize himself, but he's still stuck in them ways and he can't quite find the blend of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina brought in a young coach. New York Giants have brought in Joe Judge, a young coach. I think both have adapted really well. I don't think Bill O'Brien, he hasn't come out of that situation favourably. But having said that, a team who's in that situation that has that need will still take him. But you kind of have to earn the right again. I think you have to go down and do a coordinator role, an offensive coach type role, and earn your right at another shot a little bit. In terms of the Falcons, Bieniemy, I think, other than the non-football issue, I think the Falcons is the best of the three options for him. I think he'd actually fancy getting his hands on that side. I think they've got something he can work with.
Mm-hmm.
Whether Arthur Blank at the Falcons wants him, as Rob said, is a different story. And we said as well about college coaches stepping up. We said about Darbo Sweeney going into Houston. I've just had a look while you guys were talking. College coaches are paid a hell of a lot of money, more than most NFL coaches.
Jesus.
That's what people. So there's only 4 NFL coaches on reportedly more money than him currently. So he would and the Texans aren't going to pay him that top dollar. So effectively, he's going to take a pay cut to go to the NFL.
Deshaun Watson can help him with that.
Yeah, I'm sure he can. But it's Pete Carroll, I think, at the Seahawks was one at the time when he first went in there. He took a massive pay cut to go there, but because he bought into what they wanted to achieve and they give him the license and the reins to do it. And he's now one of the 4 that stopped because he's earned that and he's delivered, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, college football earns a lot of money and they pay the best coaches a lot of money as a result. He's on over 9 million. There's only 4 NFL coaches on more than 9 million a year.
Jesus. Right, let's move on to the teams that were announced this week for the Pro Bowl. I have got the list of names here, but I don't know whether I should read all of them out because I could be here all day doing it. What have you guys made of the AFC and NFC teams? Is there any players that are missing out that you guys would put in apart from Tom Brady? No, would you not? Okay. If there was players that are missing out that deserve more, apart from Xavier Howard, who is an absolute god. I'm surprised that Patrick Mahomes got ahead of Tua, but hey ho, we can have it this year, and Tua will be in there. I can't even finish that without laughing. Going in there. So let's go with the AFC. Any surprises? Players that have gone in. Any surprises that players that have missed out? Fred, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, see, I like the fact Josh Bailey's in there. I'd have put Nick Folk in there. Kicking wise, probably the most boring aspect of the whole thing to talk about. But I think they've both been the 2 shining lights. The Patriots, obviously, Bailey's in, but Tucker's been preferred to Folk. But otherwise, they've got a fair bit. It looks like they've got a fair bit right. Stephon Diggs, I think, has been excellent at wide receiver. Tyreek Hill, obviously. Well, you're not going to pick him, are you? And obviously Mahomes at quarterback. TJ Watt, again, I think he's been very good for the Steelers. AFC-wise, I think it's pretty much bob on, really.
Dan and Rob, what have you made of the AFC?
The one for me in the AFC is how has James Robinson not got in there.
Farcical, isn't it? The whole thing's farcical.
The fact that, undrafted rookie first year, and he's third in the league in rushing yards, he should be there. But, I mean, this is a thing where, ballots are voted on by Twitter retweets and stuff like that, and that's just the way it is, really, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, if you're actually looking at it, then as a who deserves to be there, then James Robinson deserves to be there.
So the running backs that were for the AFC that have been picked: Derek Henry, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, that have been picked. Would you take? Was it the Josh Jacobs you would take out?
For me, you could replace Chubb or Jacobs. Chubb missed half a season injured.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a better back.
I
Yes, he's a
agree
better
with that.
running back. He's a better player. But the Pro Bowl isn't about that. The Pro Bowl is about who has delivered results this year. And James Robinson unquestionably has done that.
Yeah.
Cool, that's pissed Dan right off. Jesus, I've never seen him so angry. He doesn't even get more upset when Tampa lose.
Mate, the whole thing comes down to, so for me, Tampa have had one nomination. I think they could legitimately have had 4 people in. The one that really surprised Tampa fans is Devin White is not there as an inside linebacker. They've took Fred Warner from 49ers instead. I'll give you the numbers to compare them. So Devin White has had 80 solo tackles, 43 assisted, and 8 sacks. Fred Warner's had 57 solo tackles, so 23 less, 39 assisted, 4 less, and no sacks. Yet he's going to the Pro Bowl and Devin White isn't. There's nearly 30 tackles and 8 sacks difference in the same role. That's not right. It's just a popularity contest. Evan Ingram's got in. The tight end from New York. He's had 2 touchdowns all year. He hasn't positively impacted any particular game.
When you look at his stats, I've not got them in front of me. When you look at Ingram's stats compared to Robert Tonyan's, Robert Tonyan has been the best tight end in the NFC by a country mile this season. And like Dan says, it is farcical that the fact that it is just like I said before, this season it's all about hashtags and retweets, and before that it's sign up to the NFL app and vote and things like that, and asking is flawed, because I've voted before, and what do? You vote for your own team, and you don't vote for any Saints or Bucs players.
It's your fault.
So to your thing there, Rob, I want to say about Evan Ingram. I've got his stats, his 2020 stats this season. He's received for 54, which is 43rd. His yards, he's done 572 yards and he's 62nd. 1 touchdown, which is tied 115th. He averages 10.6. I don't know if I've got the right, but isn't it Giants? Are we talking about the Giants here?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. I've got the right person. That's fine then. At 10.6, which is 93rd in the league.
What was his yards and touchdowns?
He's yards 572, which is 62nd in the league, and he's had 1 touchdown.
Yeah, see, Robert Tonyan's at 550, so that's comparable, and 10 touchdowns.
So he's got 9.
Including games with multiple touchdowns.
So let's go on to the
performances.
Let's go on to the NFC. Any people that have missed out that you feel like should be in? This is a free-for-all, so anyone can start talking.
Well, I just said obviously Tonyan is NFC.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of bias, Calvin Ridley. There's some great wide receivers in the NFC. I think when you look at, I think the only one that he could be there instead of Jefferson. Jefferson is, he's had an amazing season himself, and I suppose their stats aren't a million miles apart. Ridley probably just edges it, but that's maybe a bit of bias. Some people might be out there thinking Jefferson fully deserves to be there at Ridley's expense. That's fine. Obviously, Koo is in there, best kicker in the NFL. For sure.
Yep.
Fred, Dan, any one of you that missed out that should be in?
Devin White, without a shadow of a doubt. We talked about Tampa's game at the weekend. He came in with 3 sacks in the fourth quarter alone. He put the game on his back and won that game for us ultimately without the offense. He's in his second year. He's got a huge career ahead of him. He's one of the most underrated players in the NFL at what he does, in my opinion. Hey, I'm not a fan of the Pro Bowl anyway. It's a money-making scheme. I feel for some of the players because a lot of the players will have Pro Bowl bonuses written into their contracts if they make it, if they don't make it, and yet they're not actually making it on merit. They're making it on popularity. That's not fair. It's like Love Island.
I agree. If they're going to stick with...
I was never expecting Love Island to come out of you just then either.
Who's your favourite character from Love Island ever?
Never watched it. That's why I don't like it.
It should be based on merit. There's got to be a better way to do it. If you're going to have something like this, then it should be based on merit, not
should be a panel of retired players, coaches out of work, even a couple of referees, umpires, that see the game differently. Should be a panel that make it up.
Yeah, because what fans are going to do, like I've already said, fans are going to vote for their own players. They're going to avoid voting for the rivals' players, and it's
So Devin White, I want to go on your top there, Dan. This season, he's solo. He's done 87, which is third. He's tied 12th in the league with 8 sacks. He's tied 72nd for FF, what the fuck that means, and 0 interceptions, according to ESPN stats. Let's go on to playoffs. We're getting near the end. Which 10 and 6 team, there was a question that we had in there, will miss out on the playoffs? Let's talk NFC first, as I've got that table in front of me. Currently at the moment in the top spots and in the wildcard places is Green Bay, New Orleans, Seattle, Washington, LA, Tampa, Arizona, and then we got chasing pack are Chicago and Minnesota and Dallas. Do you see any of the 3 that are not in it at the moment getting in, or do you think the NFC is now set?
An NFC playoff representative, and I think the only one here. I'd say it's done. NFC's done for me. The Jets winning at the weekend was huge for the Bucs because if we win out, we take number 5 and we go to the AFC East team, whether it be Washington or the Giants or someone. That's far better than heading out to LA and playing the Rams or Arizona or someone. So that for us is huge. But no, I think the NFC playoffs are lined up where they'll be. It was me that put the question in, and it was looking at the Browns, the Ravens, the Dolphins, and the Raiders, who are basically 4 fighting for one spot.
Yeah.
Because there's a situation where the Browns can go 11-5 and miss the playoffs, and it's not an unrealistic situation either.
Also, Baltimore, if it goes on record between Baltimore and Miami will go through because they have a better head-to-head record than Baltimore.
And we'll get onto the predictions in a minute. And the Dolphins play the Raiders this week. And if the Raiders win out and Miami lose both games, which is feasible, the Raiders have a better record than them as well.
Yep.
Miami sit in that spot, but I think there's more possibilities of Miami missing it than anybody else.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But the last time an 11-5 team missed the playoffs was 1985. It's the best record that's ever missed the playoffs. And the Browns need to beat the Jets and lose to Pittsburgh. Realistic. Colts need to win 2. Miami win 2. Baltimore win 2. Tennessee win 1. That's feasible. And they missed the playoffs with an 11-5 record.
I don't think Miami will win 2. I think Miami will win 1. Personally, I think Miami will beat the Raiders. I really do think we will beat the Raiders. The Bills, on the other hand, I don't think we will beat. We were talking about, and we're going to integrate 2 questions into one with the Bills and Josh Allen, how they did with the Broncos against the Broncos and how Josh Allen's done this season. But we'll integrate both of them. But I do think we will lose to the Bills, but I think we will beat the Raiders, and I'm just hoping that gives us enough to go on. We're not going to go to the Super Bowl. We're not going to do anything. But for us to get in that spot for being the joke of the team for the past few years, just shows how much we've improved over the past few years. Fred and Rob, I'm going to go to you. What teams do you think will miss out on the AFC picture at the moment? We've got Baltimore and Vegas, who are the only teams that are out of the wildcard places at the moment that could realistically get in, who haven't been eliminated. What do you both think will happen?
I don't really think too much of the Raiders, if I'm perfectly honest. I thought highly of them after that close, when they obviously beat the Chiefs, but actually the second game against the Chiefs, where they ran them really close, and Derek Carr was excellent. I thought it was a good team. Since then, they've really stuttered, haven't they, to be perfectly honest with you? I think their season is just petering out, so I think you can disregard them. I think probably the Ravens will pick Miami, as I said last week. Still feeling that way. Like you said, you've got Bills to finish, and I think Bills are a good side, a very good side, actually. So, I think Ravens will just pick Miami. So I'm really sorry, Mark. Please invite me back next week.
We'll see about that. It depends if the Raiders win or not. If we beat the Raiders, you might.
I think you'll beat the Raiders.
Yeah, but Rob, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I think last week, we spoke about the NFC as well. And I think it was said last week amongst us all that we thought back then that the NFC picture was probably not going to change much before last week and the end of the season. And, it's probably set in now in terms of the AFC. It's pretty tight out there, isn't it? And, it's a bit of a different picture. I mean, who's going to get there? Who's not? I think it's going to be a banana skin this week for the Dolphins against the Raiders. Obviously, they're in our predictions later, and it was really tough for me to pick a winner on that. But if Miami are going to have any chance, then they're going to have to beat the Raiders, I think, because I think, especially with the injuries that Miami have got at the moment, I don't see them overcoming the Bills.
No, we're never going to beat them.
If they've got the injuries as well, it's going to be more difficult on that basis. Yeah. Then the Ravens, I think have been probably in prime position to pip the Dolphins that last spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only way we're going to get in is beating the Raiders and just hope the last game that Sonic comes out of it. I don't think we will beat the Bills at all. At the moment, I watched the Bills against the Broncos and they just look so good. Watching bits of it and going through it. Right, we're going to have to move on because we've been going at this for quite a while now. And we're going to move on to the predictions. What I want to do now before we get into it is go through last week's predictions and where everyone is at the moment. So last week, with the only person, is he the only person ever? No, I don't think so. The only person so far who has got 4 out of 4 was Rob, as he believed in the Dolphins, unlike the other 2 fuckers. So he got all 4 and he bet against his team. So that now makes him on 11 points.
No shame.
Fred got 3 because he decided to choose the shitty Pats over Miami. So he is now on 11. Dan made a massive mistake by pitting the Pats, but we'll let him off this time. And he is now on 11. And I picked Washington, fucking idiot, over Seattle, and I got 3, and that makes me on 9. So let's go on to this week. So we've got 4 very tough games that I picked for everyone. So once it loads on my screen, I'll be able to show you lovely. Here we go. So the games we've got this week is Miami at the Raiders Christmas Day. And we've got the Colts at the Steelers. We've got the Rams at Seattle. And then we've got the Tennessee Titans at the Packers going into this. I'm going to go first with Miami versus Raiders, and I'm going to pick the Raiders. Like fuck, Miami. We're going to thin our way to the wild card. A tough crowd. Fred, I'm going to go to you next.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Miami. I think.
Oh yes, good lad.
Reasonably complimentary on Miami. I think, as I said, I think the Raiders just petering out really and stuttering towards the end of the season. Whereas I think Miami, as I said last week, and just seem I think they're getting better and better, but they're finding other ways to win games as well, which is what impressed me at the weekend. So yeah, I'm gonna go Miami.
Dan.
Sorry. I'm gonna go to Raiders.
No, you keep picking them because every time you've gone against the opposite team, we've won. So fucking carry on, mate.
Me, Carr's going to be missing, I believe. Mariota's going to play. Marcus Mariota is a better quarterback than Derek Carr, and I think a lot of people thought he'd have took over that job earlier in the season. Carr actually stepped up and delivered, and it's held on till now. Mariota knows this is his shot. The Raiders have to win both games to have any chance at the playoffs. I think at home they deliver, and they upset you.
Rob.
I think it's a tough one to call. Like I've just said, I think it's a banana skin sort of game for Miami. I think Miami's defense has been great this season. Offensively, I think you're a few weapons short. And if you could address that in the off season, then Miami could, be building a really good team. I think when you're short of offensive weapons, it doesn't help that you're going to lose Gesicki and Parker, which, is going to leave you sort of thin. So on that sort of changed my mind so many times earlier, but I've gone for the Raiders in this one.
Bastard. This one. At least this is going to be a good one this week. See who gets it. We're not all picking the Colts at the Steelers. I know what you're going for, but Dan, let's go to you.
I'm going for the Colts.
Hey!
Best offensive line in football. Jonathan Taylor's found his feet in his form, and Steelers are as poor as I suspected all year.
Oh, that smug face. Rob.
I think it was on the very first podcast we did. I said that I like the Colts on both sides of the ball. Like them on offense, like them on defense. They've won 3 straight now. Looks like Philip Rivers is really getting in a groove as well. Steelers, on the other hand, as predicted by Dan, have now lost 3 in a row. So I can't see past the Colts in this one.
Fred.
Yeah, I'm also a convert to Dan's theories on the Steelers, and the Colts have been impressive. So I'm going to go Colts.
As much as I give him shit for his hate for the Steelers, I've also gone for the Colts. I don't trust them at all. Right, Rams at Seattle. Who haven't I gone to first? Dan, and I think I'm Rob. Rob, I'm going to go to you.
Well, I think after week 15, before the games kicked off on Sunday, I expected both these teams to be at 10-4 right now. As it stands, one is at 10-4 and one is at 9-5 as the Rams lost to the Jets somehow. Goff has been inconsistent this year. He's got all the weapons around him. And, if they can sort their inconsistencies out, then they could be really great. Seahawks, I'm not, we spoke about them last week and the weapons they've got. They're poor defensively, but they seem to have tightened up a little bit the last couple of weeks. But I'm going to stick my neck out and say the Rams are going to bounce back this week and the Rams are going to win, which is going to put them in pole position to win that division.
I'm going to go next, and I've gone for the Rams. I think the loss to the Jets will not. Sean McVay's going to go absolute apeshit, and I think he's going to turn this team around to go and beat Seattle. Dan, I'm going to go to you.
I think you both make a good point. The Rams will improve.
Complimenting my Dan. Improve. Okay, I'm doing something well.
Having said that, I'm going with Steelers. We spoke earlier the Steelers defending good enough. Pete Carroll is a defensive coach, and I think he has made that side of the ball better as he has gone on. So I think the Rams, this is a game, the Rams D against that Seahawks offense. Jalen Ramsey against DK Metcalf it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I think Seahawks have improved enough on the defense to stop the Rams, and they'll win.
Okay then, Fred.
It's a tough one for me. I've been to and fro all day on this one. Just to give me an extra couple of seconds to think. Just on the Jets game, I don't know what New York have done to upset Frank Gore and stop them getting the first pick in the draft. But yeah, something for a 37-year-old running back to run 6.5 yards on the last play to secure the win. But anyway, Rams. I think Rams just about. I said last week that I think the Rams will win that division. It was a freak result, and I don't think the Jets are quite as bad as how they performed. So I'm gonna stick with Rams, but probably my gut's really saying Seahawks after Sunday. But I'm gonna go.
Perfect. Right, last game then. We've got the Titans at the Packers. Fred, I'm gonna go to you first.
Yeah, I've gone Packers. With very little thought into this one. But I just really like Aaron Rodgers. I really like the Packers set up. I just think there's going to be a bit too much for the Titans.
Rob?
I think this is going to be, potential to be an amazing game. Two high-powered offenses. Packers have the NFC North wrapped up already. Titans need a win in the AFC South. But I've gone for the Packers as well.
Perfect. And last but no means least, Dan.
It's going to be boom or bust for me this week because I'm going with the Titans. I've got Derrick Henry running the ball. The Titans can manage the clock enough to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field. Packers can't stop the run. Henry could be looking at a 200-yard game. So I think the Titans will manage that clock well enough to come out of the win.
So, it's going to be an interesting weekend. I think there's going to be one person that will be leading going into the next weekend. Hopefully that's me. Probably fucking not. Not at all, because I can't even fucking lead because I'm so far bloody behind. Jesus Christ. So...
Have you said where you're going on that game? You haven't given us yours on that game.
Oh, have I not? Oh, Packers. Aaron Rodgers, just for me, is I think the way that I just thought about this game is it's going to be Mahomes versus Rodgers for MVP. And I watched Rodgers the other day, and I really liked what I saw from Rodgers. I thought he was excellent. And I saw Tennessee, and for me, they've got the great running game, but I just don't think they'll be able to handle the Packers at all, in my opinion. But as we can see from my score, don't fucking trust what I say at all. So, So thank you guys ever so much for coming in. I hope all of you in here have a lovely Christmas. Dan, Fred, Rob, I hope you have a lovely Christmas. Hopefully we get to see you guys next week when we record the last one of 2020. Thank fuck this shit year is over. Where we're going to be record our last one next week, going through what we thought about the Christmas games and the Boxing Day games and everything going over the Christmas period. But we, as I said at the beginning, if you watched all the way through, thank you ever so much for all your support that you've done for us.
I'll get dressed again, sorry.
All the support that you've done over the past 6 months and for growing this channel so much ever since. Thank you to all of you three that are in this call and doing this podcast with me today to help us grow as well. It's been an absolute pleasure knowing you guys, and it's an absolute pleasure to see when we do this podcast that the Pats are shit. So that makes it even better. But we will see. But we will see you guys next week. I hope you have a lovely Christmas, New Year. Bye.